Thousands of Confederates charging you, and 40 cannons going off, and drums rolling, and it's exciting stuff, indeed.
I've done this stuff for 18 years, and I've never heard 40 field pieces go off at one time like it was today. That was awesome. It was fantastic. The ground shook. You don't know if your own gun goes off unless you watch the muzzle because there's so much noise.
And I was most impressed by the noise. Here I had spent 5 years of my life trying to recreate the Civil War with the old photographs. And the first moment those cannon went off, with charges less than they would have been in the Civil War, I was knocked flat.
Imagine at the Battle of Gettysburg, there were 630 cannon, and on July 2nd, the second day of this conflagration, those guns would burn red hot from use. On this day, more men were killed and injured than on the first or the final day at Gettysburg.
Soldiering has one great trap. To be a good soldier, you must love the Army. To be a good commander, you must be willing to order the death of the thing you love. We do not fear our own death, you and I, but there comes a time. We are never quite prepared for so many to die. We are prepared to lose some of us, but we are never prepared to lose all of us. And there is the great trap, General. When you attack, you must hold nothing back. You must commit yourself totally. We are adrift here in a sea of blood, and I want it to end. I want this to be the final battle.
General Longstreet was tactically ahead of his time, favoring defensive maneuvers. But Lee was adamant about taking the offensive. Like his troops, Lee was eager for a fight, perhaps the decisive battle that would end the war. As the most experienced Corps commander, Longstreet and his men shouldered most of the burden of carrying out Lee's strategy on the second day of Gettysburg, July 2nd.
Longstreet's whole corps went in on the second day, minus Pickett, of course, who hadn't come up yet. But they all went in, and the attack around on Culp's Hill down on the other side was a very heavy attack.
The ground is strewn with boulders. The soldiers up there are entrenched all over the ground, and their guns and their rocks. Every move I make is observed. If I attack as ordered, I'll lose half my division, and they'll still be looking down their throats at us from that rocky hill right there.
Longstreet and two of his divisions, commanded by Generals Hood and McLaws, represented here in gray, pushed the Federals, represented in blue, across the Emmitsburg Road at great cost to both sides in brutal fighting at the Peach Orchard, the Wheat Field, and the Rocks at Devil's Den.
The comparison is often made of the Union position as being a fishhook. Culp's Hill is the bob. It makes a bend around Cemetery Hill and then comes on down Cemetery Ridge as the shank, and Little Round Top is the eye of the hook. And it's the highest ground. It's where the 20th Maine, commanded by Chamberlain, did their part in saving Little Round Top.
We're drawn to Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain for a number of reasons, but most of all, he's an improbable hero.
He didn't come out of West Point like everybody else did. He came out of Bowdoin College. He was a professor. He taught rhetoric, and he just believed in preserving the Union, and said he wanted to enlist in the Army, and the faculty, the board wouldn't let him at Bowdoin College, so he said, I'll take a 2-year sabbatical and go to Europe. They said, that's fine, and he said, good. Went down and enlisted, and learned how to do it on his feet because he believed in it so strongly.
Colonel Chamberlain and the 386 members of the 20th Maine found themselves in the fateful position of defending the Federal flank. The regiment, that at one time had totaled 1,000 men, was ordered to defend the key to the Federal position at all costs against charge after charge of Confederates.
Well, he managed to stop the Alabamians who were going to take Little Round Top. That's what he did. And it was a terrific touch-and-go thing. And if it had been anybody less resolute than Chamberlain, they would have lost Little Round Top. Because there was no shortcoming of resolution on the other side. Those Alabamians and Texans were coming.
They got to be tired, the Rebs. They got to be close to the end if we are. So fix bayonets. Ellis, wait, Ellis, you take the left wing, I'll take the right. I want a right wheel forward of the whole regiment.
What, you mean charge?
Yes, but here's what we do. We're going to charge swinging down the hill. Just like we pulled back to this left side of the regiment, now we're going to swing it down. We swing like a door. Understand? Does everybody understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ellis, you take the left wing, and when I give the command, I want the whole regiment to go forward, swinging down to the right.
All right, sir. Fine.
Move.
He's the commander of this decimated 20th Maine Regiment, and he holds off a furious charge by Oates's Alabamans at the last minute, running out of ammunition and doing a charge down the hill, employing an obscure textbook maneuver that terrifies the Confederates and changes the course of the battle.
Seeing hell, Billy Yank.
Seeing hell, Johnny Rip.
Civil wars are notoriously the most savage, the most brutal, the most atrocious of all wars. Of all the fistfights I've ever seen, the most savage have been between brothers.
Although the American Civil War did not lack in savagery, there was a level of civility among the fighting men. For the man on the other side of the rifle could have been a friend, a classmate, or even a brother.
I sometimes feel troubled. Those fellas, those boys in blue, they never quite seem the enemy.
I know.
I used to command some of those boys. Swore an oath, too. I couldn't fight against Georgia, South Carolina. Not against my own family.
No, sir.
Like many West Point alumni, Robert E. Lee had a very difficult choice to make when the American Civil War broke out in 1861.
Lee already had a tremendous reputation, so high that Winfield Scott, I believe under instructions from Lincoln, offered command of the Union Army to Lee. Lee even considered it. The Army was his career. He loved the Army, but he reached a decision he was bound to reach. He said, I could not draw my sword against my native state, or as he put it, against my country, meaning Virginia.
Three of us. Reynolds, Lowe, Armistead, and I came up together. Mexican War. California. Stayed close. Wonder how old Lowe's doing, if he's still alive.
I heard he had one of Pickett's brigades under Longstreet.
Just across the ridge, eh? I'd like to see him again, but not here, not like this. Well, maybe after the war, eh?
Winfield Scott Hancock is very good friends with Louis Armstead, who is one of the Confederate officers who makes it up and over the stone wall at the copse of trees and is then fatally wounded. And it is their friendship, the arc between these two people, between these two men, between these two soldiers, between these two sides, that characterizes an aspect of the Civil War that allows us to draw it into our hearts.
Filming on the actual battle sites inspired the actors and reenactors in their portrayals by creating a sense of how important it was for the performances to be as accurate as possible.
We did one scene up on Houck's Ridge near Devil's Den, and as I was placing guys in the scene, I was thinking, well, I should tell them kind of what it was like there, and I thought, I don't have to tell them because we're standing